Hey guys, it's Tahira, and today I'm doing the mid-year book tag that I've been doing every single year around this time for the past almost 6-7 years. This is a tag that sort of goes around booktube and the book community around this time every year. It's just a great way to reflect back on your reading for the past 6 months up until the halfway point of the year. So today I'll be talking about some books that I've read the past few years, what I thought of them, some of my best books, some of my worst books, just overall talking about how my reading has gone the past 6 months. So far this year I've actually read 30 books, and that is the most I've read by this point in I think the past few years. I am really taking advantage of the summertime, and I feel like I also got my Kindle this year, so once I got my Kindle I feel like I was reading so many more books a lot faster, because the Kindle the text is really big and it just makes me feel like I'm flying through the books. So that definitely I feel took a part in how many books I read. But I'm really happy that I've read so many books this year, especially the last 4 years has been kind of slow because of college. So now that I've graduated, I hope that it's gonna pick up again. Who knows if that's actually gonna happen. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and start with the best book that I've read so far in 2024. This one, I do have an answer, but I also have a rant because I only have one 5-star this year. And that's the book I'll be talking about for my best book, obviously. But one 5-star for 6 months into the year after reading 30 books just seems so terrible to me. So I really want to get some more books that I really love. I don't know if it's because I'm just reading books that I don't know, I just don't know my reading taste anymore. I guess I don't really know if it's because I'm picking up books that I'm not choosing the right books, or if it's just me being more critical this year as a reviewer and a reader. Overall, I just don't have any idea about what's going on, but so far I only have one 5-star this year, so of course I'll be talking about that one as my best book of the year so far, and that is the 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. So this one follows a woman named Clementine, and she has recently lost her aunt who she was very close with, so she's dealing with grieving her and the loss of her aunt, and she moves into her apartment, and her aunt's apartment was always, her aunt always told her it was a little bit magical. It sort of manipulated time in some ways, but Clementine really didn't believe that until she started moving into her apartment. And one day she walks in and she meets this man from 7 years ago, and she realizes that she's 7 years in the past for her and he's 7 years in the future, because Clementine is from her time. And so they sort of strike up this relationship, but they're only able to meet up in this apartment because outside they sort of have different lives now, so they're only able to meet in this space. So the story sort of follows their relationship and her trying to find him in real life, and she does, and it's about the relationship during that time as well. I just really loved the writing in this book. I think Ashley Poston did such a great job of writing in a elegant and emotional way, especially dealing with the topics that it did, like grief and loss and time. And I think that the main character, the male love interest, I totally forgot his name, but he is also a chef. So the way she wrote about cooking and food and what it means to what food means to different communities and cultures, and just how food brings people together. It was just, I really loved the discussions about that as well, and their relationship as well. I really loved it. I'm really looking forward to Ashley Poston's new book, A Novel Love Story, which I think is coming out this month, or maybe it's already out, I'm not sure yet. But yeah, 7-Year Slip, I loved it so much. I cannot wait for anything else that she comes out with in the adult space. But yeah, writing was beautiful, story was beautiful, characters were great, discussions were great, and overall this was such a fantastic book that I still think about. The next couple books are about the best sequel that you've read so far in 2024. So this one I kind of have two options. The first one is, although this was a little bit of a disappointment to me overall, I still really enjoyed it, and that is of course House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J Maas. I actually have a full spoiler filled or free, I don't even remember, but reading vlog of me reading this book when it came out back in January, so that I'll link that down below. But overall, I talk about it more there, but overall this was a sort of a disappointing conclusion to the trilogy and series. But I think in terms of the sequels I've read this year, which honestly aren't even that much, I would definitely like still put this there because I still really enjoyed it, and I love the world and characters that Sarah J Maas has created and written in here. So yeah, the other option I had was Practice Makes Perfect, but I'll be talking about this later, so I might just talk about this. I think for this one I'll talk about House of Flame and Shadow because I still really enjoyed it, and it was definitely an explosive ending. I just wish that it had gone like in a different direction in some parts, and a lot of things just got wrapped up a little bit too neatly and quickly for me. But overall, I still really enjoyed this one. Then is a new release that has come out this year but you haven't read yet and want to. For this, I have a few, but the ones I wanted to talk about are Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I have Yours Truly by her that I got a few months ago that I haven't read yet. Just for the Summer is a new release, I believe came out in May, I want to say, and I've heard just so many people talk about this one. I've heard so many great reviews about her books in general, but especially this one, and just how great it is. So definitely one I want to get to this year, as well as her other books that I have. And then the other one I've heard a lot about is When the Moon Hatched by, I want to say, Sarah A. Parker. This one is a fantasy romance, but I've heard that this one's also really good. It is on the longer side in terms of book. I think it's like 700 plus pages, but overall I've heard a lot about it. I've heard the writing is really beautiful, and just the story sounds really interesting to me as well. So yeah, definitely looking out for these for the rest of the year. Then I have the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So I actually don't know, I definitely should have done more research on this because I actually don't know a lot of books that are coming out in the second half of the year. A couple that I know of for sure is Air by Sabaa Tahir. This is her newest like fantasy. I don't know if it's a standalone or a series or trilogy, duology, whatever, but it is the newest fantasy book by Sabaa Tahir. I absolutely love Sabaa Tahir's books and her writing, and I've been eagerly awaiting her to come out with her next book, and this one sounds really interesting. So definitely this one. Another one I think that I am anticipating, but I think a lot of people are, is also the third Fourth Wing book. I don't remember what the title is, but I'll put it up here. This one I have mixed feelings about because I read Fourth Wing, really loved it, gave it 4 stars, one of my favorite books of last year. And then I read Iron Flame, and I gave that one like 2 stars, one of the worst books I read last year. So I'm really interested to see how this one plays out, especially because I think the issues with Iron Flame were that it was like written too quickly. I think it was probably rushed because of the hype of Fourth Wing. I think the publisher tried to rush this process to try to get it out as quickly to kind of keep up with the hype. But yeah, I think that since she's had to think a little bit more time to write this and sort of brainstorm and flush it out, I'm hoping that this one is better. I am excited about this one, but also I am a little bit like hesitant going into it because I really want to like it as much as like the magic that Fourth Wing kind of brought me. I'm just hoping it'll come back maybe. But overall, like so far, these are the 2 books that I know for sure are coming out this year. Other than that, I definitely need to look up, but nothing that's like coming to me right now. Next is the biggest disappointment, and I have a lot of books for this, but I'm gonna try to narrow it down to the first one is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This one is a fantasy romance book that a lot of people had read last year and really loved. So I read this for a video where I was reading like the most hyped books of 2023 because I never got a chance to read some of them, and this one was popping up a lot, so I decided to read it. And although I gave it like 3 stars, it was a really big disappointment just because of how much it was hyped. I feel like everyone was talking about it, everyone was raving about it, everyone was just giving it amazing reviews, so I was like really excited for this one, but it was ultimately such a letdown. Not just with the story, but with the relationship as well. The story is set up to be like this really cool world with like there's this magical war going on between gods, and I thought that we would get a lot more of that, but the story was a lot more focused on the 2 main characters, Roman and Iris, and their relationship, with the war and the politics sort of in the background. But I just wish we had gotten that a lot more because I think it would have added so much to the story, and I think it would have upped the tension a little bit that wasn't really there. And the second thing is I think the relationship went so fast because I've talked about this before, but they went from like rivals, not really rivals, to married within the book, and the book isn't that long, so I feel like if she had saved a little bit of the development of the relationship for the second book, which I haven't read yet, but I think I will read sometime, I think it would have been like a little bit more realistic than what really happened in this book. So overall, I was just expecting a lot more from this book, and ultimately that I didn't get. The second book that I want to talk about for this question about biggest disappointment is Funny Story by Emily Henry. This one is about two people and their exes like get together, and so they are kind of like jaded because they were in these long-term relationships, and they decide to like come together and start a friendship, and then it turns into a relationship. And although I gave this like 3.5 stars, this one was also a big disappointment, especially because I loved Happy Place so much. It was my favorite books last year. I gave it 5 stars, and I really love Emily Henry's books. I love Beach Read and Happy Place and People We Meet on Vacation, so I had really high hopes for this one. It just didn't end up sticking as much as I thought it would. The relationship didn't really make sense to me. I liked some of the like everyday like occupation stuff we got with, what's her name, Daphne, right? Yeah, Daphne. And her job as a librarian, I thought that was really cute to see. But Miles, I like literally knew nothing about, and it is part of the storyline why we don't really get that much. But overall, I feel like I still don't really know enough about him, which didn't make me feel connected. So I didn't feel connected to the characters as much, and the story also fell flat for me. So overall, it was like, although I didn't rate it terribly and it wasn't terrible at all, it was just a disappointment, especially after I loved Happy Place so much. So yeah, this one was definitely a sad one for me. The next book is The Biggest Surprise, and for this one I have to say Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is a sci-fi book about this man who wakes up from a coma and he's on a spaceship, and he has to sort of figure out like what's going on, why he's there, what he's there for. And I read this because I was doing a booktuber Rex video, and another booktuber, Rachel from Raven Haired Reader, recommended this, so I decided to pick it up. And this was a surprise because sci-fi is really not a genre that I usually pick up, and usually I am a little hesitant about, just because like I don't love super like stuff in general about universe, space, like facts and stuff I'd love, but just like in a story like fiction format, it's not something I super love. So I was hesitant, but I ended up giving this 4 stars. But I really enjoyed this. It is a really heartwarming story, and I was just not expecting to love it as much as I did, so that's why this is going for the surprise question. Next question is favorite new author, and this could be debut or new to me. So for this one, I'm saying Frida McFadden, because although I haven't given any of her books 5 stars, they're all like 3 or 4 stars, I still think I really enjoy her plots, and I would read them just for the sake of like entertainment. And I've read, at this point, I've read like 4 books from her already this year. I read The Housemaid, The Housemaid's Secret, Never Lie, and Ward D, and I enjoyed all of them, and they all like kept me on the edge of my seat trying to figure out like what's going on. So I think the plots are super interesting, and I'm definitely interested to see like what her other books are, and I definitely want to pick them up. But it's weird because I don't love her writing style. Like her writing style is very straightforward, it's very direct, so it's not the case where I'm like the writing is beautiful and everything. It's very to the point, and their books aren't super long either, so I feel like it's a great book for like if I want a fast, quick, entertaining read. I will definitely pick up this author. So yeah, definitely a new to me author that I discovered this year, that I think I will definitely like, even though I don't love her books, like I will keep picking up her books just for like the entertainment value. Next is newest fictional crush. Now I don't really like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people have like book boyfriends and stuff. Like I never really was the type of person to do that. The first person that I guess I did that with was when I was like 13, and did that with Will Herondale from the Infernal Devices series. And that one hasn't been there for a while because he's like 15 and I'm now 22. But I will say this is weird because this is another Will, but if I had to pick one, I would pick Will Griffin from Practice Makes Perfect, because just the way he acted with the main character, he was really sweet, and he cared a lot. So I think these are qualities that I really enjoyed. So if I had to pick one, it would have to be Will Griffin from Practice Makes Perfect. My newest favorite character, which is the next question, has to be Rocky from Project Hail Mary. If you haven't read this book, Rocky is like this alien creature that comes into the picture. You do have to suspend your belief a little bit, or disbelief. Is it suspend your belief or disbelief? One of the two about this book, because he like starts communicating with this alien named Rocky. But yeah, I really enjoy their relationship. Rocky is such a sweetheart. I love him so much. Like literally the most cutest like alien creature to ever exist. And he deserves everything, so I will have to say Rocky. Next is a book that made me cry, which usually I just pick a book that makes me sad because I have never actually cried for a book. I will cry for things in my real life, but I've never cried for like a movie, TV show, or a book. I don't know, something about it, my brain knows that it's fake, and I guess I just don't get attached to the characters. But one that made me like sad / stressed was One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I recently read this. I don't know if I've talked about it yet, but this one is about a girl named Emma, and she has this relationship starting in, I want to say, high school with this guy named Jesse, and eventually in their 20s Jesse ends up dying, and she is dealing with the loss and the grief of that, and then she ends up meeting this guy named Sam who was also from her high school, and they start a relationship again. Not again, but like he always liked her but she didn't, so they start dating again after Jesse's, I think a couple years after Jesse's death, and they end up engaged. And then Jesse literally comes back from the dead. He's not actually dead, he was never dead. So he comes back and he tries to continue the life that he already had with Emma, but Emma is with Sam now, so she kind of has to figure out like who she really loves, what she wants out of her life, things like that. So overall, I cannot tell if this lighting is bad or if my face is dark. Anyways, this book made me sad for all the people involved, but also made me stressed because I feel like if I were in that situation, I would be so stressed. I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be breaking down every day, and I really don't know how Emma really did it, but I think the situation made me like sad and stressed and everything, so I'll have to go with this one. Even though I didn't cry, but it made me stressed inside for Emma. Next is a book that made me happy, and that is Flawless by Elsie Silver. This one I read last month, I want to say, and I really enjoyed this one. This one is a cowboy romance, which I've never read before, and overall I think that just the family and the relationship made me happy. The relationship itself was but I think the book overall made me happy in terms of like the romance, and also Practice Makes Perfect made me happy as well because their relationship was really, really cute and their dynamic was cute. So I would also say Flawless and Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams just made me give that giddy feeling inside. And then the next question is the most beautiful copy of a book that you've bought or received this year. And for this one, I have to say the Spanish edition of the House of Earth and Blood copy that I got while I was in Spain. It has these pink sprayed edges, and it has these black marks right now from traveling, but it has this like super gorgeous design on it. You can see it has like these almost like dark pink goldish foiling on it, and it's on the back as well. So overall it is a super stunning copy, and I was literally in the bookstore and I saw this. I was like, I like literally need this in my life, and it took me a while to actually get it because it was like $30, and usually I never get a second copy of a book, and I usually don't spend that much on one book. So it took me a little bit to get it, but I literally left the bookstore and I was like regretting not getting it, and I was like feeling that regret. I was like, oh, it would look so beautiful. So I went back in and got it like 15 minutes before the bookstore closed, and I'm really happy with the decision. It is entirely in Spanish, so I can't really read this because I can't read in Spanish. I wouldn't understand it. So maybe one day I'll be able to read it because Spanish is always a language that I wanted to learn. So one day I'm hoping I can get to this and read it. But yeah, this stunning copy is of course my most beautiful book. And then the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So I feel like I have a lot of books, my entire like physical TBR, but that's probably a little bit ambitious. Of course, the new releases that I've been wanting to get to, like Just for the Summer and Air and other books that I know is going to come out. Another thing I want to do this year is my reread of the Hunger Games because once the new like movie and book got announced, I've been really wanting to read this one, and I also want to do a Throne of Glass reread sometime this year. All of these books combined is a lot of books because Throne of Glass is such a long series, so we'll see how much I can actually get through it, but these are definitely like a few books that I want to get to by the end of the year. I think those are all the questions for the mid-year book freakout tag. I have read a lot of great books this year, not like spectacular books because I only have 1 5-star, so I'm hoping this summer I can get some more 5 stars because there's a lot of books that I want to read that have been super hyped up and that I have a lot of high hopes for. But honestly, all my high hopes and predictions have been sort of falling flat for me. Like Funny Story was probably like a 5-star prediction, didn't end up happening. Books that I want to read like Divine Rivals, Yellowface, all these books that had high ratings and expectations for like ended up falling flat for me. So yeah, just not a great year. I'm hoping that the second half of the year can bring me some more books that I really love and that I can consider like favorites of the year or all time. But yeah, that is it for this little video. Let me know down below what are some of your favorite books that you've read so far in the year so far in the last 6 months, as of course I would love to know. But that is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed and I'll see you next time. Bye.